In the vast expanse of the Old West, where lawless often prevailed and the echoes of gunfire lingered in the dusty air, a select group of individuals emerged as legendary figures, the gunslingers. These were not your ordinary folk. These were men whose trigger fingers danced with death, and whose names struck fear into the hearts of both outlaws and lawmen alike. Join us as we embark on a riveting journey through the smoke-filled saloons and arid landscapes to unveil the top 10 deadliest gunslingers in the history of the Old West, where each quick draw and deadly shot etched a chapter in the America's wild frontier.
Wild Bill Hickok. Wild Bill may hold the title of the deadliest gunslinger in the whole Old West. He carried his 2 Colt 1851 Navy revolvers with ivory grips and nickel plating, which can be seen on display at the Adams Museum in Deadwood, South Dakota. Hickok was known to wear his pistols in a cavalry draw, which could be equated to a reverse draw today. His style of carrying is something that can be equated to an inside-the-waistband holster that has been set up for a cross-draw. Born and raised on a farm in northern Illinois during a turbulent era marked by lawless and vigilante activity spurred by the influence of the banditti of the prairie, Hickok traversed a remarkable spectrum of occupations. He held every job that you could think of, starting his life as an outlaw and ending it as a sheriff. He was a gambler, soldier, actor, spy, scout, and marksman. While some question the veracity of his numerous achievements, none dispute his larger-than-life personality. Credited with allegedly taking down over 100 men and engaging in numerous gunfights, Hickok's legendary status was cemented through memorable duels, including the famed confrontation with Davis Tutt, where he astonishingly shot Tutt at a distance of 75 yards, an impressive feat even by contemporary standards. However, Hickok's tumultuous lifestyle eventually met a tragic end when Jack McCall shot him in the back of the head during a game of 5-card stud. In a macabre twist, the hand Hickok held at the time of his demise, featuring 1 pair of black aces and a pair of black eights, became forever known as the dead man's hand. Yet the tale doesn't conclude there. Hickok's legacy persists through numerous portrayals in movies, books, and stories, ensuring that the legends of his wild life endure in the collective memory of today. John Wesley Hardin. John Wesley Hardin was born in 1853 near Bonham, Texas, to James Gibson, Gip Hardin, and Mary Elizabeth Dixon. He was named after John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist denomination of the Christian Church. James was a Methodist minister who settled his family in Trinity County, Texas, in 1859. He started a school for local children, including his own. As the Civil War erupted, young John Wesley, then 15, sought to join the Confederate Army. His first fatal encounter occurred in November 1868, when faced with an alleged attack by a former slave wielding a stick. Hardin shot him. Due to the Union occupation of Texas, he went into hiding on his father's advice. When his location was discovered, he killed the 3 Union soldiers sent to capture him and was forced to run away from home. Teaming up with outlaw Frank Polk in Navarro County, Hardin continued his violent exploits. From shooting a man in the eye during a bet in Pisgah, to killing a black man in Leon County, Texas, and engaging in a fatal card game dispute with Benjamin Bradley in Hill County, Hardin left a trail of bodies. In 1871, Hardin was arrested for the murder of Texas Marshal Laban John Hoffman, but he escaped after killing another police officer, Jim Smalley. After many acts of lawless, the Texas Rangers apprehended Hardin, sentencing him to 25 years at Texas State Prison in Huntsville. During his incarceration, he delved into the study of religion and law, though plagued by poor health. Hardin was released from his sentence after having served 17 years and became a lawman in El Paso. His new life, however, was short-lived. In April 1895, Hardin was shot by John Selman in an El Paso saloon. His last words were, "4 6s to beat." Hardin was then buried the next day at Concordia Cemetery in El Paso. John King Fisher. John King Fisher was a Texas rancher, lawman, gunfighter, and outlaw. Fisher was born during October 1853 in Collin County, north of Dallas, Texas, to Job Fisher and the former Lucinda Warren. His brothers were Jasper and James Fisher. Fisher's mother died when he was 2 years old, and his father married a woman named Minerva. Fisher's early misadventures with the law included an arrest for horse theft when he borrowed a horse without notifying the owner. He soon escaped from the posse with the help of the horse's owner, who decided not to press charges. A subsequent arrest for breaking into a house in Goliad, Texas, resulted in imprisonment, but Fisher received a pardon after just 4 months. Moving on to Dimmitt County, he established a ranch in an area where cattle rustling was rampant. His ranch became a refuge for drifters and outlaws, and Fisher at times collaborated with Mexican rustlers, orchestrating cattle thefts. His outlaw activities often led to violence, and he quickly gained a reputation as a skilled gunfighter. He used this ranch as his gang's base of operations, and even was so brazen as to place a sign that read, "This is King Fisher's Road, take the other one." In 1870, he joined a group of outlaws raiding ranches in Mexico. After an argument with the other gang members, Fisher killed 3 of them, took over as the leader, and shot 7 Mexican bandits. Despite multiple arrests by Texas Rangers, including Leander McNelly and Lee Hall, Fisher consistently eluded conviction. By 1876, Fisher seemed to tire of the outlaw life, marrying and acquiring a ranch near Eagle Pass. In 1881, he assumed the role of deputy sheriff in Uvalde County and, 2 years later, became the sheriff. Transforming into an efficient and well-liked lawman, Fisher intended to seek re-election in 1884. Tragically, on the night of March 11, 1884, at the Vaudeville Variety Theater in San Antonio, Fisher and his companion, renowned gunman Ben Thompson, found themselves in a shootout arising from a quarrel with the theater's owners. Both Fisher and Thompson perished. Initially interred at his ranch, Fisher's remains were later relocated to the Pioneer Cemetery in Uvalde. Tom Horn. Tom Horn was a scout, cowboy, soldier, range detective, and Pinkerton agent before he turned to work as a hired killer in Wyoming. Born near Memphis, Missouri on November 21, 1860, Tom Horn, Jr. was the 5th child in a family of 12. Despite his numerous siblings, Horn experienced loneliness and endured severe abuse from his father. Escaping this environment at the age of 14, he journeyed first to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then to Arizona. Sometime later, the U.S. Cavalry hired him as a scout and interpreter during the Apache Wars. He was part of the mission to find Geronimo and was present at his surrender. In the 1880s, Horn gained popularity as a tracker and bounty hunter, working for the Pinkerton Detective Agency until his association with 17 murders forced his resignation. In 1901, Horn found himself embroiled in a feud between the Miller and Nickel families in Iron Mountain, Wyoming. In mid-July, William Nickel, the 14-year-old son of a sheep rancher, was ambushed and killed in the Iron Mountain region, allegedly due to a mistaken identity, as the bullet was meant for his father. About a week later, the boy's father, Kels Nickel, was shot in the arm and hip during another ambush. Horn was then arrested by the county sheriff. Despite dubious identification by two Nickel children and Horn's intoxicated confessions about Willie's murder, he was convicted of the crime. Thomas Horn was hanged the day before his 43rd birthday in 1903 and was laid to rest in Columbia Cemetery, Boulder, Colorado. During his incarceration, he penned his autobiography, Life of Tom Horn, Government Scout and Interpreter, published posthumously in 1904. This work, subject to numerous late 20th century editions, has contributed to Horn's enduring status as a larger-than-life figure in Western folklore. Debate persists regarding his actual guilt in Willie Nichols' murder. Dallas Staudenmeier. A gunfighter and lawman, Dallas Staudenmeier was involved in more gunfights than most of his better-known counterparts, and successfully tamed one of the most violent towns in the Wild West. Born in Bullock County, Alabama, on December 11, 1845, to Louis and Elizabeth Staudenmeier, he displayed early determination when, at 15, he attempted to join the Confederacy during the Civil War. Discharged due to his true age, he re-enlisted a few years later, serving as a private in Company F, 45th Alabama Infantry Regiment, during which time he was wounded several times and carried 2 bullets in for the rest of my life. Known for toughness and a short temper, particularly when drinking, Staudenmeier moved to El Paso, Texas to assume the role of sheriff. In the infamous 4 dead in 5 seconds gunfight, he killed 3 men within his first 3 days on the job. Over the next year, he added 6 more notches to his gun, earning a reputation as one of Texas's most feared lawmen. Staudenmeier got involved in a feud with members of the Manning family, which ended when he and 3 of the Manning brothers got into a gunfight. Shot from behind by James Manning, he died instantly. Staudenmeier's funeral, held at El Paso's Masonic Lodge, preceded the shipment of his body to Columbus, Texas, for burial in the Alleyton Cemetery. The Mannings continued to live in El Paso, and soon their killing of Dallas Staudenmeier was all but forgotten. During his lifetime, Staudenmeier was involved in more gunfights than most of his better-known counterparts, such as Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, Elfego Baca, Luke Short, Doc Holliday, and John Selman. He is credited with successfully taming one of the most lawless towns in the Old West. Sam Bass. Sam Bass, a notorious outlaw and train robber, led 2 distinct gangs during the Wild West era, the Black Hills Bandits from 1876 to 1877, and the Bass Gang of Texas, operating from 1877 to 1878. Born in Mitchell, Indiana, on July 21, 1851, to Danielle and Elizabeth Jane Bass, he pivoted to a life of crime after business ventures failed. Joining a group of outlaws, he began robbing stagecoaches with notable success. With his audacity and careful calculation, Bass and his gang targeted the Union Pacific Gold Train from San Francisco, raking in over $60,000. This heist remains the largest robbery of any Union Pacific Railroad train. The Pinkerton National Detective Agency and Texas Rangers relentlessly pursued him. Following an informant's betrayal, the gang faced an ambush by Texas Ranger Sergeant Richard Ware and Ranger George Harold in Round Rock, Texas, during an attempted robbery at the Williamson County Bank. Tragically, Williamson County Deputy Sheriff A. W. Grimes lost his life at the hands of Bass. In the ensuing chouse, Bass sustained gunshot wounds but managed to escape, later found lying in a field west of Round Rock. He died the next day. He was buried in Round Rock Cemetery, and the road to the cemetery was later named Sam Bass Road. A small monument was erected over his grave by a sister. Its simple inscription reads, "Born July 21st, 1851, died July 21st, 1878. A brave man reposes in death here. Why was he not true? Wyatt Earp." Wyatt Earp, an iconic figure in American history, achieved fame as a gunslinger and gambler, with his notoriety peaking at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. However, this event wasn't the genesis of his law enforcement journey. Hailing from Illinois, Earp began his career with humble origins and gradually ventured farther west, assuming various roles in law enforcement, from sheriff to constable and even deputy U.S. Marshal for a time. Wyatt also had other occupations as well at certain points in his life. He was a professional gambler, brothel keeper, bouncer, and bartender. His travels took him across the western boom towns, including a lucrative stint in Alaska, where he earned over $80,000 running a saloon, equivalent to about $2 million today. Of course, he was also one of the most feared gunmen in the Old West. Renowned as a lawman, Earp, alongside partners Doc Holliday and Virgil Earp, confronted 5 members of the infamous outlaw gang, the Cowboys, in the historic OK Corral shootout. Emerging victorious, they eliminated 3 cowboys, while the remaining 2 fled. Earp's triumph further solidified his place in history. Wyatt returned to California around 1911 and settled in Los Angeles. He took on the role of a technical advisor for Old West films, contributing his expertise to the burgeoning movie industry. On January 13, 1929, Wyatt Earp died in Los Angeles at the age of 80 of prostate cancer. Wyatt's cremated ashes were buried in Josie's family plot in Colma, California, just south of San Francisco. Wyatt Earp chronicled his experiences in the Wild West in an autobiography, Wyatt Earp, Frontier Marshal, which became a bestseller. Hollywood has since immortalized his story through numerous movies, capturing the essence of this legendary gunslinger. Billy the Kid. Henry McCarty, alias William H. Bonney, better known as Billy the Kid, was an iconic American gunslinger and outlaw of the Old West. In his short life, Billy the Kid was reputed to have killed 21 men, 1 for each year of his life. However, many historians now dispute this figure, estimating the count to be closer to 9, with 4 solo killings and 5 assisted by others. Born in 1859 in New York City to Patrick McCarty and Catherine Devine, young Henry faced early trouble for theft, managing to escape custody and finding his way to Arizona in 1875. In 1877, he engaged in a fatal dispute, taking the life of a blacksmith. Later that year, he joined the Lincoln County War, linking up with lawmen to pursue a group responsible for the murder of a rancher. The group, known as the Regulators, gained notoriety for their violence, eventually labeled as outlaws. During a 3-day killing spree, they claimed 3 lives, including those of a sheriff and a deputy. The group disbanded under the pressure of law enforcement, leading to the Kid's escape, followed by a fatal shooting of a gambler in a New Mexico saloon. After many troubles with the law, Bonney was finally captured and sentenced to death, but he quickly escaped and eliminated his defenders. Sheriff Pat Garrett, along with 2 deputies, tracked and ultimately shot Billy the Kid on July 14, 1881, at Fort Sumner. Henry McCarty, the infamous Billy the Kid, was buried in a plot in between his dead friends Tom O'Folliard and Charlie Boder the next day at Fort Sumner's cemetery. As time elapsed, myths and legends emerged, suggesting that Bonney had not met his demise and that Sheriff Garrett orchestrated the incident and subsequent death as a favor, allowing Bonney to elude the law. Over the next 50 years, many men claimed to be Billy the Kid. But most of these claims are easily refuted, but 2 remain the subject of discussion and debate to this day. In 2010, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson contemplated honoring a promise of pardon made in 1879 by then-Governor Lew Wallace. However, Richardson abandoned the idea, citing historical uncertainties surrounding Wallace's pardon. Clay Allison. Robert A. Clay Allison, also known as Clay Allison, was a cattle rancher, cattle broker, and occasional gunfighter of the American Old West. Born to Jeremiah Scotland Allison, a Texas cattle rancher and Presbyterian minister, and Maria Ruth Brown Allison on September 2, 1841, in Tennessee. Allison served in the Civil War, fighting for the Confederacy under Captain W. H. Jackson and General Nathan Bedford Forrest. After the war, the Allison family relocated to New Mexico. In January of 1874, Allison and fellow outlaw Chunk Colbert engaged in a horse race and later had dinner at the Clifton House in Colfax County. The two had a history of disagreements, and without warning, Colbert secretly pulled out a pistol and shot Allison. But when his gun hit the table while he was drawing, Allison reacted quickly by shooting Colbert in the head. When asked why he shared a meal with someone who wanted to kill him, Allison quipped, "I wouldn't want to send a man to hell on an empty stomach." In the following years, Allison was involved in many violent conflicts, including one in which he briefly took a man's head and brought it into a saloon to show off his trophy. Known as a notorious gunfighter, Allison relocated to Mobeetie, Texas, in 1880, where he married America Medora Dora McCulloch. The couple purchased a ranch near the Pecos River. Allison met his demise in 1887, when he broke his neck after falling from a wagon. He was initially buried in Pecos Cemetery, and later his remains were moved to the courtyard next to the Orient Hotel Museum. Clay Allison's life has certainly been an adventure, from cattle rustling to execution to becoming a notorious gunman, but his life was also marked by many successes as a bona fide rancher. Whether Clay Allison is a gentleman or a notorious villain is a question that many people have never resolved in their minds until now. Doc Holliday. Holliday is best known for his role in the events surrounding and his participation in the gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. Many people who knew him considered him the most dangerous man in the Old West. Contrary to widespread beliefs, modern research indicates that Holliday likely took the lives of only 1 to 3 individuals, dispelling the myth of him being responsible for more than a dozen deaths. Holliday's life and colorful personality have been the subject of many books and have been portrayed by famous actors in various films and television series. Holliday was born August 14, 1851, in Griffin, Georgia. At age 21, Holliday earned a degree in dentistry from the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery. He set up practice in Griffin, Georgia, but he was soon diagnosed with tuberculosis, the same disease that had claimed his mother when he was 15 and his sister before his birth. Seeking relief in the climate of the American Southwest, Holliday relocated to the region, where he embraced the profession of gambling, a respected occupation in Arizona during that era. In the ensuing years, he found himself in several confrontations, including saving Wyatt Earp's life during a saloon altercation in Texas, leading to a lasting friendship. In 1879, Holliday joined Earp in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and subsequently journeyed with him to Prescott, Arizona, and later to Tombstone. During his time in Tombstone, local members of the outlaw Cochise County Cowboys posed threats and spread rumors alleging Holliday's involvement in a stagecoach robbery. On October 26, 1881, Holliday was deputized by Tombstone City Marshal Virgil Earp. The lawman's attempt to disarm 5 members of the Cowboys near the OK Corral resulted in the famous shootout. Following the confrontation, Morgan Earp lost his life, prompting Wyatt Earp to embark on the Earp Vendetta Ride in 1882, a series of retaliatory actions accompanied by holiday, marked by various incidents of violence. After splitting from Earp, Holiday relocated to Glenwood Springs, Colorado. As his health further declined, he succumbed to tuberculosis at the Hotel Glenwood on November 8, 1887. Holiday's final resting place is in Linwood Cemetery, affording a panoramic view of Glenwood Springs. Ultimately, the Old West was a frontier marked by the legendary exploits of formidable gunslingers. From the dusty streets of Tombstone to the saloons of Dodge City, these remarkable individuals left an indelible mark on history. We've explored the lives and deeds of the top 10 deadliest gunslingers, each one contributing to the rich tapestry of the Wild West. If you enjoyed this journey through the annals of the Old West, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating tales from a bygone era. Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the mysteries and legacies of those who once ruled the untamed frontier.
Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.